The walls were high, the guards were sharp, the island prison was a fortress, the rock of despair. No one had ever escaped. The ocean surrounding it was a killer, cold, ruthless, and vast. But for one man, that deadly water was not a barrier, it was a pathway. This is the story of a leap of faith, a battle against impossible odds. It's about staring into the abyss and choosing to jump. This wasn't a plan made in comfort, it was a desperate gamble, born from the silence of a prison cell. The other inmates thought he was crazy. The guards laughed at the very notion. To them, the ocean was the ultimate jailer. He saw a horizon. For that tiny chance, he was willing to risk everything. Imagine the courage it takes to look at a churning, angry sea and see not death, but a road to life. He had to become more than a prisoner. He had to become a force of nature. His escape would be a legend, a story told in hushed tones for years to come. The night was chosen. The moment arrived. A shadow slipped from the prison walls, moving toward the shoreline. He carried almost nothing, just a few scavenged items and a will of iron. The air was thick with salt and tension. Every crashing wave sounded like a gunshot, but there was no turning back. He was stepping out of one kind of danger and into another, far greater one. This was it. Man versus the wild. Man versus the ocean. The ultimate escape was about to begin, a journey into the heart of fear and the soul of survival. The impossible was about to be attempted. The world would never be the same. The leap was made. His name was Cale. Before the gray walls, he was a fisherman. He knew the sea, its moods, its dangers, its gifts. The ocean was in his blood, his teacher, his home. He could navigate by the stars, sense a storm in his bones. He wasn't a hardened criminal, just a man who made one desperate mistake. Life inside was a slow death. The routine crushed the spirit. Cale stared out his barred window at the taunting sliver of ocean. While others plotted revenge or gave up, Cale watched the tides, studied the currents, observed the gulls. His mind was already escaping, charting a course back to freedom. He kept to himself, letting others underestimate him. They saw a broken man. They didn't see the fire within. Every scrap of information, every change in routine, he collected it all. He became a ghost within the walls, learning the prison's rhythms and weaknesses. His strength was patience, resilience, like the water he longed for. His past as a fisherman gave him the endurance for this impossible task. Cale was ready to reclaim his identity. The idea grew slowly, a seed of desperation in his cell. The ocean was a monster, currents, freezing water, sharks, a suicide mission. But the alternative was a slow death in a cage. He began to see the ocean as a challenge, a final test. Every storm, every night on his boat had prepared him for this. Hope grew alongside fear. The ocean called to him, a siren song of freedom. He would rather die trying than never see the horizon again. The decision was made. The how was next. No raft, no boat, he would have to swim. He would have to endure, become a human vessel. The plan, get out, get to the water, and keep going. He aimed for a distant shipping lane, a 1 in a million shot. Every action now served the escape. He exercised in his cell, built stamina, ate every scrap of food. He studied the moon cycles, planning for the darkest night. The other prisoners saw obsession. He saw purpose. The ocean escape was no longer crazy. It was destiny. The plan was set. There was no turning back. The countdown began. Survival is about innovation. Cale had almost nothing, so he had to be clever. His escape kit, 2 empty plastic jugs for flotation, a rope braided from strips of cloth, a waterproof bundle made from a plastic bag and kitchen grease. Inside, a sharpened piece of metal, hard bread biscuits, and a small compass, his guide. Fear was a constant companion, but he used it to sharpen his senses. He double-checked every knot, every detail. He prepared his mind as much as his body. Meditation helped him quiet panic, focus on breathing, and visualize the escape. He rehearsed every step in his mind, facing the cold exhaustion and terror before they came. Every detail mattered. Every mistake could be fatal. Cale was ready for the test. The blueprint was complete. The tools were simple, but his will was unbreakable. The night of escape drew near. There would be no second chances. It was all or nothing. The night was dark and moonless, a storm brewing on the horizon. Cale moved with desperate silence, using his sharpened metal to pry open his cell. He slipped into the corridor, heart pounding, every shadow a hiding place. He reached the outer yard, keeping to the darkest corners. The perimeter fence loomed, tall, topped with razor wire. His braided rope waited at one end, hooked onto a support post. He climbed, muscles screaming, hands torn, but he didn't stop. Over the top, past the wire, and down the other side, he was out. He sprinted toward the cliffs, the wind howling, the sea roaring below. At the edge, he didn't hesitate. He leaped. The impact with the water was a brutal shock, the cold stealing his breath. Disoriented, he fought to the surface, clinging to his plastic jugs. He was in the ocean. He had escaped the rock. Now the real prison began, the endless, unforgiving sea. He turned his back on the island, compass in hand, and started kicking toward the open water. The escape was real. The fight for survival had begun. There was no going back. Every second counted. The wild ocean was his only path. The legend was in motion. The guards would soon discover the empty cell, but by then Cale would be far beyond their reach. The waves swallowed his trail. Only the horizon lay ahead. Freedom was somewhere out there. The first hours were a blur of cold and effort. The adrenaline faded, replaced by a deep, bone-chilling cold. Every wave tried to drag him under, rip away his jugs. He kicked with a steady rhythm, muscles burning. Hunger gnawed at him, hope and fear warring inside. Sleep was the enemy. If he drifted off, he'd die. He bit his tongue, dug his nails into his palms to stay awake. Dawn brought no relief, only the terrifying truth. He was a speck in a monstrous world of water. No land, no boats, just endless waves. The scale of his task hit him hard, utterly alone. The struggle had only begun. The ocean was relentless. Cale's will was his only weapon. Every kick was a battle, every breath a victory. The night faded, but the fight continued. He was still alive, and that was enough. The storm he'd used for cover finally caught up. The sky turned violent, rain stinging his face, waves rising like mountains. He was no longer swimming, just surviving, tossed by nature's rage. His plastic jugs were both saviors and a struggle to hold. A massive wave ripped one jug away. Panic surged. He lunged, grabbed it back, shaken by how close he'd come to disaster. Sleep deprivation blurred reality. Phantom ships, imagined voices. He fought to stay grounded, focusing on pain, cold, and salt. Then something bumped his leg, a shark. He froze, heart pounding, waiting for teeth. The shadow circled, then vanished. The encounter lasted a minute, but aged him a decade. The dangers were everywhere, above and below. The ocean tested him with every wave. Cale's resolve was all that kept him afloat. Survival was a minute-by-minute battle. After the storm and the shark, despair set in. The sun scorched his skin, his throat was parched, his food gone. This was the true test, not the storm but the grinding hopelessness. He set tiny goals. Reach a cloud, wait for the sun to set, keep moving. Each small victory fueled his will. The compass was his promise, proof he was moving forward. He talked to himself, recited fish names, described meals he'd eat. These weren't daydreams, they were survival tools. He filled the silence with memories and hope. The will to live is the most powerful force. Cale tapped into that core, thinking of grass, rain, sunsets. He fought for the right to exist, to experience life's simple beauties. Each memory became a reason to keep going. He was no longer just escaping, he was fighting for life itself. The ocean could not break him. Every kick was a declaration, I will survive. The horizon was closer with every stroke. Hope was his anchor. At first light on the third day he saw it, a dark line on the horizon. Land? No. A ship, a huge cargo freighter. Adrenaline surged. This was his chance. He kicked, shouted, waved, still miles away, but he didn't stop. The ship grew larger but seemed ready to pass him by. Desperation clawed at him. He screamed again, a raw, primal sound. A figure on deck raised binoculars. They'd seen him. The ship's horn blasted. Relief and disbelief flooded him. A rescue boat approached. Sailors pulled him from the water, shocked by his condition. He was limp, spent, but safe. Wrapped in blankets, sipping water, he felt reborn. He had walked through the valley of death and survived. The ocean had been his prison and his path to freedom. He looked back at the empty sea, took a deep breath, the first true breath of a free man. The air had never tasted so sweet. The fight was over. He had done the impossible. He had survived. Cale's legend was born in the heart of the wild sea. Freedom at last was real.